The boarding gate buzzed with chatter as passengers lined up for the flight to New York. Among them stood Marcus Reed, a calm and confident black CEO, known for building one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country. Dressed in a sharp navy suit, he handed his first-class ticket to the gate agent with a polite smile. But her smile faded as she looked at the ticket, then at him. "Sir, I think you're in the wrong line," she said softly. Glancing toward economy, Marcus raised an eyebrow, confusion mixing with quiet disbelief. He had paid for his seat just like everyone else. When he insisted, her tone changed, cold and dismissive. Soon, a supervisor arrived, and the whispers began. Some passengers watched with pity, others with judgment. But Marcus kept his composure, knowing losing his cool would only feed their assumptions. Inside, though, he felt that familiar sting, a reminder that success didn't always earn you respect. Moments later, the airline's manager approached, clearly unaware who Marcus was. The situation escalated quickly, drawing the attention of the entire terminal. Cameras came out, passengers started filming. Still, Marcus stayed silent, letting them dig the hole deeper. Then his phone buzzed, a single call that would change everything. What happened next left the entire airline frozen in disbelief. Marcus didn't raise his voice or demand revenge. But within minutes, the balance of power shifted and everyone suddenly realized who they had just tried to humiliate. Marcus stepped aside, his expression calm but unreadable, as the manager continued to argue that first class was fully booked. He didn't bother replying right away. Instead, he glanced at his phone, the screen still glowing from the call he had just received. It was from his assistant, confirming that the airline's parent company had finalized a partnership deal that very morning with his firm. Marcus was now technically one of their biggest investors. The irony wasn't lost on him. As the crowd watched, Marcus replayed the last few minutes in his mind. He'd faced this kind of treatment before: quiet dismissals, polite doubts, unspoken assumptions. It never got easier, but it always reminded him why he worked so hard to break barriers. Growing up in Atlanta, his mother had taught him to turn moments of disrespect into moments of power. "Let your actions speak louder than anger," she used to say, and that lesson had built an empire. Meanwhile, the gate area grew tense. A few passengers began whispering his name after someone recognized him from a business magazine cover. The airline staff noticed the shift, their confidence wavering as they checked their tablets again. Something didn't add up. His name was indeed on the first-class list. Marcus simply waited, the faintest smile on his face. The call he made next wasn't loud, but it was enough to send ripples through the airline's corporate chain. Within minutes, things were about to take a turn that no one at the gate could have predicted. Within minutes, Marcus noticed the sudden change in tone around him. The same manager who had been firm and dismissive now looked uneasy, speaking quietly into his headset. The gate agent kept glancing at Marcus, her earlier confidence replaced by nervousness. Something was clearly shifting behind the scenes. Marcus didn't move, didn't speak, he simply waited, letting the silence speak louder than any argument. Upstairs in the airline's operations office, a message had just reached the regional director. The man they'd denied boarding wasn't just any passenger, he was the CEO of the company now, handling the airline's new digital infrastructure deal. Every employee's screen flashed his name, followed by a red notice: priority client. Immediate assistance required. Back at the gate, passengers whispered as word spread. Some were uncomfortable, realizing how quickly people had judged him. Others tried to justify what they'd seen, pretending it wasn't discrimination but a misunderstanding. A woman in business class stood nearby, watching with quiet admiration. She recognized Marcus from a tech conference and remembered his story about resilience. Meanwhile, Marcus's assistant, Jordan, was already on another call, coordinating something larger. "They'll fix it," Jordan said, voice steady. "But let's make sure they learn from it too." Marcus agreed. He wasn't looking for revenge, he wanted accountability. Then the airline's corporate liaison appeared at the gate, out of breath and pale. The staff stiffened as she approached Marcus, holding her tablet tightly. "Mr. Reed," she said carefully, "there's been a serious mistake." But Marcus only nodded, his eyes calm and knowing, because the real lesson was only beginning. The air around the gate felt heavier now. Every conversation had gone quiet. Every eye fixed on Marcus and the airline representative standing before him. The woman's hands trembled slightly as she tried to explain, her voice low but unsteady. "It appears there was a system error," she began, glancing nervously at the staff behind the counter. Marcus didn't respond, just tilted his head slightly, waiting for her to continue. Passengers could sense the tension. Phones were still recording, capturing what felt like the start of something big. The same gate agent who had dismissed Marcus earlier now stood frozen, her polite tone gone, replaced by visible regret. The manager kept checking his tablet, avoiding eye contact, while whispers spread down the boarding line, rumors about who Marcus really was. In that moment, Marcus's phone buzzed again. Jordan's voice came through softly. "They know now. Every department's on alert. Even the CEO of the airline's trying to reach you." Marcus's gaze didn't shift. He could hear the panic. In the background on the other end of the call, the sound of corporate chaos unfolding in real time. The representative cleared her throat and offered to personally escort him to his seat. But Marcus stayed still, his silence creating even more unease. Everyone was waiting for his reaction. Would he accept their apology? Would he walk away? Or would he expose what really happened in front of everyone watching? The engines outside began to roar, but inside the terminal, the tension was deafening. Something big was about to happen. Just as the tension reached its peak, another airline official rushed in, carrying a sleek black folder. His badge read Corporate Relations Director. He whispered something to the representative, and her expression changed instantly from nervous to stunned. Marcus caught every flicker in her face. Whatever he'd said clearly made things worse. The director stepped forward, forcing a strained smile. "Mr. Reed," he began, "I want to sincerely apologize on behalf of the company. There's been a terrible misunderstanding." Marcus raised an eyebrow, waiting, it seems. The man continued, "Your company's access credentials were flagged in our system by mistake." But the hesitation in his voice told another story. Marcus could tell it wasn't a mistake at all. Someone had manually changed his booking. Behind the counter, the manager avoided everyone's gaze. Marcus's calm eyes locked on him, and the truth started to unfold through silence alone. A few passengers murmured, realizing this might not be just about a seat, it was something deeper. One of the staff had tried to downgrade him intentionally, unaware of who he was. Jordan texted again. *, we found the name. The employee did it manually. Marcus's fingers tightened around his phone. This wasn't just about embarrassment, now it was about integrity. He turned toward the crowd, still recording, and for the first time spoke clearly. It's never just an error when respect is missing. The director froze, realizing the situation was spiraling out of control. Cameras flashed. The airline's reputation hung in the balance, and Marcus was done staying silent. The director's face went pale as Marcus finally stepped forward. The quiet strength in his presence drew every eye in the terminal. He didn't raise his voice, yet every word he spoke carried weight. Say it was an error, he said calmly, but errors don't come with judgment in someone's tone. The crowd murmured in agreement. The gate agent looked down, tears brimming, realizing how far things had gone. At that moment, Marcus's phone rang again. It was the airline's CEO calling directly. The entire terminal fell silent as Marcus answered. "Mr. Reed," the voice said nervously, "we owe you a personal apology. The employee involved has been suspended, and your company's system upgrades are being implemented immediately." Marcus listened quietly, his expression unreadable. Then he said, "It's not about punishment, it's about change. Treat every passenger with the same respect you'd give me." The director nodded quickly, promising reform. The passengers clapped softly, impressed not by Marcus's power, but by his grace. The gate agent whispered, "I'm truly sorry." Marcus gave her a small nod, his tone gentle. "Then make sure it doesn't happen to the next person." Just as he turned to board, another message buzzed on his screen, a notification from his assistant. The airline stock had dropped sharply within minutes of the viral videos spreading. Marcus paused, exhaling slowly. He hadn't planned revenge, but the truth had found its way out on its own. The world was already reacting, and this was only the beginning. As Marcus finally settled into his first-class seat, the cabin was filled with quiet respect. Passengers who had witnessed the entire scene now looked at him differently, not as a headline, but as a man who chose dignity over anger. The flight attendants treated him with care, their voices softer, their smiles genuine. Even the captain came out to greet him before takeoff, offering a personal apology on behalf of the crew. Marcus accepted it with a firm handshake and a simple nod. As the plane lifted off, Marcus stared out the window, city lights fading beneath the clouds. He wasn't thinking about revenge or reputation. He was thinking about the people who faced this kind of quiet disrespect every day, those who didn't have the platform or power to make it stop. He knew the viral videos would bring attention, but he hoped they'd bring change too. Hours later, after landing, his phone buzzed again. News outlets were already covering the story, calling it a lesson in humility for the airline industry. Messages poured in from young entrepreneurs and travelers thanking him for standing his ground. Marcus smiled faintly. For him, it was never about fame, it was about fairness. He walked through the terminal, shoulders relaxed, the noise of cameras fading behind him. Sometimes, real power wasn't shown in how loudly you spoke, but in how calmly you stood your ground. And in that moment, Marcus Reed proved that respect, once demanded with grace, could shake an entire system.